Yeah. Um, I'm fine. Special day today because it's the World Championships cycling. So a little bit nervous in the podcast, but yeah, very pleased and honored to have our guest here today.
Yeah, me too. Um,
How are you today?
I'm fine. Uh, same same as you. I'm both results of the World Championship cycling. You're not here today to talk about this. Let me present Marieke Blomme. She is best known for her performances in competitive swimming. She's been in the open water swimming 2004, 5, 13, 14, and 17. Second place in the Belgian Championship of the open water swimming, the 10 kilometers in 2004. World records Belgian coast swim in 2021, and she now 45 minutes. She swam the Lake Geneva 73 kilometers to the fourth overall. But Marieke has also impressive results for private by sports. She's a Belgian champion swimmer 2016. She was first in Belgian triathlon. First in Avasu triathlon 2014. Third in an iconic street 2017. And she has many other podium results. Professionally, she's active as a personal sports coach and tip coach, also very specialist. And Marieke is also a mom of a little girl. So, Marieke, what a list!
Yeah, thanks for reading the whole list.
How are you today?
Good. I was actually more excited to see the race yesterday, but today is not so good. Yeah, everything's fine.
Very happy with the result yesterday.
Yeah, I was happy about the first place, and my husband was a little bit less happy about the second place. The way Ryder was second, so he's a
From the US.
yeah, he's from New Jersey, just below New York. So yeah, he also likes the racing, likes to see the cycling. So he's probably now on the couch looking at the cyclists. Yeah.
How does it feel to hear that list, that impressive list of all the results?
It feels like I have to shorten my list on my website. It feels a bit strange to hear it this way, but yeah, it's a lot apparently.
Yeah, but you did sports from young age, I guess. How did you start doing sports in life?
It feels like I've always done sports. I don't really see a start, although most of it was recreational. So it always has been functional. I've started to become a lifeguard at the coach. So that at the coast, that was more functional for that. And then because there was no other way to train, I started swimming competition. So it grew a little bit from just wanting to do something, and then you have to train for it. So you keep doing different things. And then did some rowing, running, horse riding, all kinds of things.
But at the beginning, you were a swimmer. At the base, you were.
Yeah, basically. But swimming was more. I actually stopped swimming because it became a competition. So I was swimming until I think 10 years old, and then we had to do competition. So they put you in two lanes. One is the fast lane, one is the slower lane. I was in the slower lane. They put a paper on the wall, and it's like, "This is your training. Bye." And I didn't enjoy it anymore. It used to be playing or having fun with other kids, and it became just a list to look at and do your thing, and then go home. And it didn't feel, didn't give me any satisfaction. And also at that age, you just want to play, you want to do nice things. And yeah, so I stopped swimming at 10 and then did all kinds of other things and then restarted being a lifeguard.
So after you're searching for the playful part of sports again.
Yeah, in a way I was, yeah. But the fact that in Torhout, where I used to live, there wasn't any space in the condition group for adults. So they said, sorry, we don't have space for you unless you do competition. So I was like, okay, then I'll do competition. So they put me in a group with 7 years old kids again to learn to do the tumble turn, to learn to start. And then you have to go to competitions officially, and they put you, it's like they call it, it's a category without time. So if you don't have a time, register, you have to do it with all the other kids that don't have time. So I was standing there, I was 19 years old between all those kids, and you see those parents looking at you like, what is she doing here? It's like, please let me be first.
Yes.
That's a little bit, but I didn't do that for very long. I just did it because I had to, and then went to open water swimming because they allowed me to do competition there, and it was a lot nicer.
So obviously you're a swimmer, but did you also do other sports in your youth?
Yeah. Swimming was more to learn how to swim, and then later on for the lifeguard coach, on my difficult words, lifeguard at the coast, the job that I did in summer. In between it was more mostly horse riding, karate, some rowing, running, those things.
Which one do you prefer?
Now, if I would go back to that age, or if I would have time now, I would start horse riding again.
Horse riding, yeah, surprising.
Yeah, it was a different time, different. I never had my own horses. I helped other people who didn't have time to ride their horses, so it's a bit different now.
And also in competition?
Some jumping, yeah, but not much. It was nice to do, but I just enjoyed the long rides outside, just in the forest.
Yeah. So from a young age, you loved the ultra sport.
Yeah. If you look at it that way. Yeah, actually, like when I worked in summer, we had family on the other side of Belgium. It sounds like it's very far, but in Schriek. And 2 days before, I decided to do it by bike. So it was the time before the mobile phones. So I just printed maps, put them together, and then tried to find a way from Torhout to Schriek with just a city bike and all the luggage. So it's always been something. Yeah, the ultra wasn't that far, obviously, but
No, but it's in Antwerp, I think.
it's over Leuven, Bonheiden, that area.
Okay, so you switched from swimming in the bath to open swimming, to open water swimming.
Yeah.
Did you need to do other trainings, or is it just a bit similar?
You should, but there's not much open water swimming in Belgium. So in those years, I always trained in the pool. There wasn't anything else. So now it's already a bit different, and I train a lot in the ocean and stuff. But there's not many options.
So interesting Instagram post recently that you posted, and I think you have a swim in a normal swimming pool again, and you post something like it's like training for a marathon and doing sprints at 200 meters with plyometric exercises in between.
Yeah.
How does it feel? Can you train for open water swimming, long distance open water swimming, and just a swim? What's your opinion?
Yeah, people do it, so yes, you can. But to specify a bit more, I was with my US family in New Jersey, and so they have 25 yards pools, which is about 23 meters. And sometimes they call it long course, and sometimes they make it short course, and then they take the width of the pool instead of the length, which is 20 yards, which is about 18 meters.
Yeah.
So I couldn't choose. There was only short course. So I booked my time and I went crazy. So you swim a couple of strokes and it's already turning. Yeah. And then I started thinking about like, what are we actually doing? We're training for long distance. I know like Mathieu Bon or other people who do long distances do the same thing. They go to the pool every day and again, even if it's a 50 meter pool, it's what is it? Half a minute swimming, turning. It's crazy in a way. And if you look at it from the perspective as comparing it to a marathon, it might be interesting for a couple of training sessions, but to do it every time is a bit much and a bit stupid in a way. But the fact that we can do it and that people do it tells us a lot about the mental parts of it, and that you can do a lot more than you think. So yes, in COVID, people could have trained for marathon in their backyards if they wanted.
How can it's better? Do you have an idea of how it should be or how it could be?
To train better?
Yeah, for swimming long distances. And for example, Belgian there are not a lot of lakes.
Yeah. Well, they did just change the law. That's already better.
Yeah.
But the thing is, in practice, nothing changed. So they call it 3 swim zones in which you are allowed to swim with no lifeguard on your own risk. But until now, there's no 3 swim zones. So it's they allow it, but nothing has yet been opened basically. So it would be a big change if they allow us to actually swim somewhere with no lifeguard, just on your own risk, like basically any country allows around us. That would be.
Yeah, for open water swimming, is it a different technique you need to use because you have the waves and maybe the water is a little bit different?
Yeah, and even the ocean, lakes, rivers, everything's different. So you want to train, and it's like if you would train for Gran Fondo on a track. I mean, and also it's good to train some hills maybe, but if you do that every time, you don't know anything about technique to take turns and stuff. So I think in any sports, you don't want to be doing the same lap 20,000 times. And it's always good to train in the specific circumstances that your race will be. So it's important to learn how the wind has this effect, the waves, even the depth of the water, the body of water. The bigger it is, the more you float, basically. The deeper it is, like the waves in a lake. If the lake is really shallow, you can get like very nasty, small, annoying waves, and then the ocean is completely different. So
so every water type is different.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. And also like Lake Geneva with all the mountains, the weather it changes like in a couple of seconds almost. It can change. And also because of the currents underneath, the cold water comes up, you get a current in a certain direction, and it changes every.
Because after Lake Geneva, you said the last part was difficult, and I haven't been training for those kind of situations. So, what kind of situation was it, or how can you train for?
Move to Geneva. We don't have lakes like that in Belgium, so that's a difficult one. For the coast swim, I went 1 week to the coast and swam every day, whatever the weather was like, just swim in it in any direction, against the waves, against the current, and that gave me a lot of experience, but also self-esteem in a way that like okay. Like you look at the weather and they say the waves will be 0.8 meters. You swim in it and you feel like, okay, that's okay. And then if you look at your competition day and they say, oh, it's going to be 0.7. And then you think, oh, that's easy. I've done that. But with Lake Geneva, I didn't have any reference. It was just do it.
So the waves?
No, actually, the waves was not the problem. What would have helped me was, especially at night, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful place, but at night you don't see anything. And in Belgium, I knew the cities So I knew I passed Lankenberge. I'm almost at Zeebrugge. It's when you're there at port, it's maybe 10k left. So I knew a bit. I had some frame of what was happening, and Lake Geneva was just the lights of the boat, and that's it. So they could have told me it's still 20k. It's still 20. They could have told me it's still 10k. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know the difference.
Could you allow to wear a watch?
No. Yeah. They allow like a simple watch, not smartwatches, but I feel like so the principle of marathon swimming is we want to be able to let everybody do the same swim in the same way. So 100 years ago, they also only had bathing suits, so no wetsuits. They didn't have expensive watches, so no expensive watches. So I really like that idea. So I don't wear a watch, I don't wear rings or anything. Yeah, just completely.
That's cool because at the Olympics in Paris, you saw there were still world records from 1988, I think. But yeah, they would wear then bath suits and everything. So that's not not equal for the people who are now competing.
Yeah.
Or cycling, that were records.
Yeah, for example,
arrived at the old vibes, then it changed, and then after that to that time.
Yeah, and the skin suits and swimming, and yeah, exactly.
Okay, good. So, but we will come back to the big Geneva crossing. So what was your first idea of, okay, I want to start with an ultra sports career?
Yeah. The initial idea was New Zealand. I traveled through New Zealand. It's 20 years ago, a long time ago, or even longer. Time flies. It was in 2004, I think. And we were gonna do a hike, but it was flooded. So they told us, and in New Zealand the standard is a little bit like a kid's walk. There would be a quite heavy trail in Belgium. Have a bit of a different standard. And they said, yeah, no, the water is until your shoulders, so you won't be able to make it. And we wanted to do something else, so we chose an easier track, but instead of doing it in 3 days, we decided to do it in 2 days. Lighter packed, less stuff, just to make it a bit of a challenge. And we walked the second day to the highest point, and we're like, oh, it's feeling good. We almost made it. We just had to go downhill. Beautiful view. So we're taking pictures. No mobile phones at that time, just old-fashioned way. And we see someone running up the hill, and he stops and he takes his drinking bottle, drinks a bit, looks around, and goes on. And I'm like, that's not possible. So there were only 2 ways into that national park, and whatever way you did it, you had to at least cover 50 kilometers, and it took us 2 days. And the guy was just running, and he didn't have any luggage, so it meant that he, maybe had some food, a little bit of water, but that was it. It was like, wow, that's like real freedom, like, completely out of your life, basically. You leave everything behind. No idea. I didn't ask. I didn't ask. I didn't have anything to hunt with, so difficult.
So he was your inspiration.
Yeah, the idea, to me, it looked like freedom. Like, it felt like we were looking for a challenge. So we left some luggage behind to be able to travel light. And seeing him, it was like, whoa, that's next level. So it's possible. It seemed like the 2 days for us were the limit. And suddenly you realize that there's actually no limit. You can leave everything behind, and then you just do whatever you want to do almost. Yeah, so that was the inspiration for the ultras.
And then how it's the
It's been a lot of things. I actually went through open water swimming, triathlon, cycling. So I didn't only or always do ultras. It was like more of trying to do different sports. Actually even combined, like I remember doing quite a big cycling race in Belgium. It was 4 days, and I won. Actually, my team still doesn't know. If he's listening, he might not like this, but the team doesn't exist anymore. But it was a really good cycling team for women. And it was a TT the first day, the Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday it was cycling, and the Monday was in Gerardsberg. The Sunday was, I actually don't remember, it was a flat course, and in the morning there was an open water competition, a 5 kilometer. But in open water swimming, so the list that you just gave, you have, it's like an criterion. You do all the races. The higher you end, the more points you get, and at the end of the summer they choose the highest rating. So I was like, to do that race, otherwise I'll lose my podium place. So I told our team leader, oh, I think I'll go home. It's not that far. I'll drive home. Oh, okay. See you tomorrow. And then it was actually in Lent, I think, the Sunday. So I went home, went to the 5 kilometer in the morning, tried to calculate what will I do for lunch, just another gel, go to the cycling competition, got on the bike, got into a big crash, managed to get back to the peloton, and the team leader was afterwards, what did you eat? You did a really good race. I was like, okay, I'm not going to tell what we did. So it's always been different things, but the idea of just doing what you want and trying to get the most of the freedom that's in the ultras has always been there somehow.
And did you had someone that inspired you to start with sports? Did you had an idol?
To start with sports? No, not really. And I've always I like the human aspect. Like I don't really follow big races or even cycling. I look at it, but to me, the inspiration is more in the individual. How do you call it? What people actually do as a person. I don't really connect it to base. Yeah. Like I once went to a cycling shop and there was a famous cyclist in front of me and he had his tire replaced and he went away and the guy was like, oh, I'll have to call my wife. She will never believe who was in the shop. And I didn't even recognize him. I talked to him and had to look it up afterwards to see who it was. Yeah, and it's and certainly in sports like cycling and football, soccer, there's so much money involved, I think, and that's also what makes ultras, I think, so nice. I have a lot more respect for someone who can juggle with working, family, and still do amazing things. So I think the inspiration is from the daily or just people who we don't know, maybe.
Yeah, but that's it, because the ultra sports people don't have the airtime on TV that they deserve.
Yeah.
Actually, you swam the whole lake of Geneva, 73K, and okay, I heard you on the radio, but that was it.
Yeah, it was actually on TV too.
On TV also? Yeah, I didn't saw it.
On VRT, the evening. Yeah, so they did. And actually, we had a discussion about this with the team because for the coast, to my opinion, that was a more special and a better result in a way. And they didn't pick it up really. But then this time they did, and the guy from the non-profit that I tried to support was like, yeah, it's just timing. Like if you put it there at the right time, they pick it up, and then. So yeah, with ultras, I think timing, ultras, and TV shows maybe doesn't work that well.
Yeah.
If you go back 10 years, then you were doing a lot of cycling quite a lot. How did this career evolve, or how did it end? What made me decide to enter this career?
Oh, that's a interesting question. I don't really see it as ended yet. For me, the last 20 years, cycling, swimming, running have been like going through each other almost. It's and that's the nice thing about triathlon. You can combine the three. but you can also choose to focus on trail running for the winter, or you can focus on long distance swimming for a while. So I don't really see it as a journey that ended, but I don't like and now I maybe have to watch out, but it's getting quite commercial, which is okay. Like, yeah, I'm an Ironman coach, so I can't really say much. But and I don't mind paying for it, but it's if you go to those competitions, a lot of times it's about the 10,000 euro bike, and like I have a lot of people that I help and coach that start, and they are like almost scared to start because they have just a normal bike, and they go to a competition and they see all those expensive stuff, and it makes it a bit more about the money than it's about the sports. So that has driven me a bit more to different disciplines. And in triathlon, I still want to do like one extra, I think, like the extreme triathlon, because that's more the ultra sort of people. It's a bit more like trail running, and open water swimming long distance, more like a family feeling than a competition.
More adventure.
Yes, adventure and just getting to the finish.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Yeah.
Yes.
That's the idea. Yeah.
Is it a triathlon?
Mhm.
Triathlon? I saw the boogie. It's impressive.
Yeah. You want to do it too?
Not yet. But how did that go? You were in the snow, in the rain? No.
Yeah, it was crazy. I remember so there's Norsemen, and that's like the world championship for extreme triathlon. And I remember there were some people from Norway, and they did Norsemen, and the Italian people were explaining like you have to be really careful. The temperature can suddenly drop. The weather can be completely different from now to tomorrow. And they were like, "Oh, Norway, we were used to that. We have everything we need." And then I talked to them afterwards, and that was a completely different story. Like I asked them, was this race heavier than the Norseman? And they said, yes, it's actually a lot heavier. So I think the fact that you start at 1,800 meter already is a challenge. I actually had like a couple of days of headache, not feeling the best. And then you swim at that height, which means the water is 12 degrees Celsius. That's not really warm. And then the cycling, obviously. We actually didn't do it. They didn't allow us on it because it was all snow and frozen. It was too dangerous. And the running is just uphill on the ski areas. Yeah, it's crazy. So those kind of races you start and you actually don't know if you can finish. That's the nice thing about nice. It's maybe the wrong word, but it's like a challenge. Yeah.
Do you have a moment during the race that you think, what am I doing? But why did I stop?
Just before you start. Ali, that's for me. Like you're standing there at 4:00 in the morning and you think like, I might. Yeah, that's mostly. And once you start, you just get in the moment and you forget about everything else. And then I don't really think about that anymore. And until the end, probably. And then you get the same.
What were the distances you needed to do?
It's the same as another full distance, so it's 3.8. But actually, for us, they shortened. I think it was 3.6 or a bit less because it was too cold. They shortened it a little bit, and then the cycling was actually a bit longer. I think 195. Normally, it's 180. And then running is a marathon, so 42 kilometers running. Yeah. So they try to keep it the same distances as another full distance, but it's always with a lot of hills and a bit more challenge and trail running.
You start in the night.
Yeah, well, the days are a lot shorter there because they are high in the mountains, so they start at 5 something. I think it was 5:00 in the morning, and then when you get at the top, it's dark again for most people.
How is it to swim in the dark? Okay, it's doing the cold swim and the Geneva swim, but for triathlon, it's difficult
Different, yeah.
to orientate, to find your direction. I don't know.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And it was the second time they did it. So they had one light on a buoy and a boat with a light. And you almost couldn't see the difference. So sometimes you were swimming towards the boat and didn't realize that you missed the buoy. And also because you start with a lot of people, everybody's nervous, everybody's pushing a bit. A lot of people stop during the swim, like give up because they get scared. You don't see anything. And Livigno, the city where they start, it's mountains around. It's really dark. Yeah, it's not like Blamirsen or.
Yeah, totally different.
Yeah.
How can you prepare yourself? Because you knew before the race, I need to swim in the dark. Did you some training in the dark or?
No, I actually didn't. I probably should have. But in the end, I think you have to just mentally prepare for that. It's I think if you are used to getting out of your comfort zone in whatever situation and you can focus on the priority, like swim to that point and forget everything else. And that's, I think, something you learn with doing different challenges in life. And it's mental. I think in ultras a big part is mental.
Yeah, of course, because we can push our body a lot more than we think.
Yes, yeah, that's actually there's whole books.
Yes.
Yeah. I think how do you prepare mentally for a competition like that? Do you have a mental coach or do you exercise this or how?
Yeah, no.
Thinking a lot about it, months and in advance.
Yeah, no. That's actually something I never really thought about. I've always done. How do you say it? Just took any challenge as a lesson. You can, and that's something I see with a lot of people. They want to do one race, like one Ironman, and they train and train and train. And like a lot of people will be like, "Oh, it's too warm. I'll wait until it's 8 o'clock so that it's less warm, and then I'll do my run." Whereas if you do every weekend 2 races, and you're like, okay, if I fail, that's training, and if it's a good race, it's a good race. I think you get a lot more experience. You train in whatever circumstances, and that's what I feel like I got all the mental training from.
So by doing a lot of races and by doing a lot of events.
Well, with doing a lot of events and with accepting that you're gonna fail.
Yeah.
Because like especially the cycling is it's changed a lot. So for me, I'm talking about, let's say, 10 years ago, but women cycling especially it's like not a motivating environment, I'll put it that way. I remember a lot of races, the big ones like Omloop Nieuwsblad, they would be waiting for the men to pass by, and then the women start a bit earlier before the cameras are there, and the people that are there waiting for the big show are like yelling, "Oh, my kid can bike better with his with a small or stupid things like that, or they have the prize already. You better go home." So I think I got a lot of mental training.
Yeah, I heard that. Yes,
So,
of course.
yeah.
And after the swim in the island quite long, like in the mountains, in the rain. I think it's like reason then how go through that because your hands are freezing, your feet are freezing, and then how mentally how do you go through the
Yeah. But in a way you can't, but I remember that I couldn't use my brakes anymore at a certain point. So it's quite scary, but if you panic, it's over. So you just try to move one finger and then move the next and hope that the road is safe enough and go a little bit slower. Yeah. So it was just surviving, to be honest. I had, I think, 3 different sets of rain vests and clothes and gloves. And I remember my husband. So in an X3, you always have to have a car with you on the bike course. I remember he had my clothes like on the front at the windshield, and put the heating on. The car was smelling horrible. So he tried to dry the clothes as fast as possible, but it was just not possible to keep up with. It was raining all day. It was freezing. It's just surviving. Don't think too much about it, and just try to go. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's an old one, but it's still yeah.
And then you arrive and you hear your parents.
Yeah, that's actually completely different. First of all, in an X3, they don't really, they say they don't really care about it. So it's just about getting to the finish. So they don't tell you that at the finish. And also because they changed the course, we had to get in the car at, I think, kilometer 160 or something, because we had to go through a tunnel where there's no bikes allowed. So everybody had to get off the bike. They stopped the timer. You had to wait until the light was green, get through the tunnel, and then get back on the bike. So they neutralized basically part of the cycling course to get everybody safely to the other side and not over the Stelvio. And because of that, they had to recalculate all the finish times. So it took about a month before they actually, yeah, apparently. But yeah, it doesn't matter. But at that point, you're just really happy that you're still alive and that you finished.
What does your husband say then? Like, this the bar from the hood.
Yes, yeah,
What is truly just a go Marieke or
yeah, yeah. Essentially, and that's a very big cultural difference. If I see the U.S. family, part of the family, and the way they deal with those things, it is completely different than the Flemish culture. So, and I think the most important part is before the race. Like when I said, "Oh, that looks like a nice competition. I would like to do that." A lot of people would be like, "Why would you want to go to Italy? Why would you want to pay 400 euro to go suffer?" But he was like, "I am. Yeah, it looks like a good idea. Nice location, and you can. I think you can do that." And I think that is a lot more important than the day of the race. Obviously, the day off, he's very good at that. He's practical. Put your clothes on. Put these. Give these to me. Just go. He would basically force feed me and just keep me going. So you need someone like that during the race, but someone that supports you before is a lot more important, I think.
Yeah, that's very important actually, because yeah, I'm cyclist. I ride a lot in the weekend, and I heard sometimes from my friends when they say to their wife, "Okay, I need to train 5 hours." Oh, again, and this and that. But it doesn't motivate you to train, and when you have someone behind you who supports you, who got your back, that's a whole different
Yeah.
thing to live. So
Yeah, for the both of us.
yeah, but yeah, that's very important to have someone behind you who supports you in that, because also how did you do the training and also the family stuff? How do you combine that?
Yeah, by finding the right partner, like because I remember a month before, I think Icon, we went to a family reunion in North Carolina. So, which is really nice. It's nice to see the family, but you also know that, training will be a bit of a different story. But he actually made sure that we rented a bike there, that he could bike, that I could bike. We both, that's the other thing. If you understand each other a bit, it helps if you do the same thing. And he also told the family and they were okay with it. So half the day I was cycling and the other half of the day was family time. And that's perfect, but not everybody understands that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I remember reading a lot of stories. The sport by distances. So you have a team material.
Mhm.
Team is panicking and said woman.
Yeah,
And then stories of people stuff.
yeah,
I also heard stories of people that have a team around them who's certainly wants to stop. And the teams are saying, no, you gotta continue. and they
Okay.
continue then. So I think indeed a team of a person around you that's motivating you, that knows you, it's amazing.
Yes, and actually that's something. So the team and for the Belgian coast swim, for both swims I had a great team, but the weather was horrible. It was when we started, the waves were 0.7, which is okay, and it was supposed to go down, but it went up. So when we were at Zeebrugge, the waves were 1 meter 40, which is nice for surfing, probably, not for swimming. Yeah. But at the start, so you have to get ready. You put some lanolin, like some fat on your skin against shaving. And I jump into the water, I start swimming, and half of the people, I don't see them anymore. So my husband was going to feed me, and it was someone else feeding me. It was like, Allee, I've been swimming an hour, and he's already laying down and sleeping or something. I don't know. But he was actually sick, so all of them were seasick because of the waves. And yeah, you swim quite slow, basically, compared to boat speed. So the waves make it a lot more heavy on the people that are in the boat than for me. And then after, I think, 15 hours in the swim, I saw them. It actually didn't rain, but it was quite cold. And everybody was sitting on the boat, like, closed posture, a hat on, looking at some endless distance. And I started feeling like, oh, this is not good. Yeah, and that's something I think with the swimming, you're like with running, if you have a team, you can talk to them. Or in cycling, if there's a car following, you can talk to them, or at least you can go to the car and. But with swimming, or you can talk to other cyclists actually. In swimming, there's like
You're alone.
Yeah, it's very strange. You get completely like disconnected from your environment, which is nice. It's a nice thing, and it's also what intrigues me in a way, but it's also a very difficult part. And so for this swim, for Lake Geneva, I told them in advance, please just have fun.
Yeah.
Like if the team is happy, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
And for the coast swim, I made sure they had all the food they needed. I looked for a second boat so that they go to the toilet. They had a kitchen. It was a whole organization, but it worked. And for this swim, we couldn't do that. There was a kitchen on the boat, but I didn't know anyone in that region, so I couldn't ask someone to bring food in advance or something. So they had to do it themselves, and that's why I told them, like, I feel a little bit bad that I can't organize this for you guys, so please tell me if I have to do something in advance, and just make sure that you have everything you need so that I'm happy if you're happy on the boat. And they took it quite literally. They like almost started the party on the boat. Put like a hammock out and
Pizzas and beer.
I didn't see the pizzas, but and beer also not. No. But yeah, they had fun. It gives a completely different atmosphere because you don't see anything. You just see water, and then every time you breathe to that side, you see the boat. But if everybody's sitting there with an angry face,
Yeah.
it doesn't. Yeah.
So when did you have the thought, okay, I'm gonna do the Belgian coast swim?
That's a bit COVID related, and all the frustration around. So I just invested in a pool. I wanted to start my own business, or I actually already started. But then you have the pool finally, and you can't use it because of all the COVID limitations. And so I was like, I can do two things. I can sit here and cry, or I can use that pool for myself. Because when you think about it, it wasn't a nice time because I didn't have any income, but you do have the perfect situation to be a top sporter, basically. Could have trained all day, every day if I wanted to. So I thought, like, if I want to do something crazy in swimming, this is when I have to do it. So that was basically the reason. And the year before, I saw Blomme do it, and he actually started from Knokke to the Pannen the first time. And I was like, oh, that's strange. If I think about it, the current is harder, goes harder towards the Netherlands. So I didn't understand why he did it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So I started asking people about it, started testing for myself, and it like triggered something of it's not just swimming, it's the tactics, the team, the knowledge about the weather and stuff, and yeah, that made it the real challenge.
That's the thing about
Mm.
just for everything around.
Mm.
That makes us maybe swim faster or run faster, but you can go faster with you. All the things around that you regulate that things as well.
Yes, yeah.
And they also like they say that you took care of people, so they take care of you.
Yeah, it's a team sport.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's what they say in India relationships.
Mm.
If you take care of the other one, then the other one will take care of you.
Yeah.
It's actually the same thing.
Yeah.
Like how you say that.
Yeah, well, it's also really nice if it works out. It feels really good for everybody, and it's also you have to be honest about it. I mean, I cannot swim 70 kilometers without a boat or without someone telling me this is the line you have to follow, or this is your food, or you just have to acknowledge the. It's actually, I would almost say that's a bigger part because what they do. We had actually someone in Belgium who looked at the weather maps the whole time to make sure that we wouldn't have any thunderstorms and stuff. So there's a whole, there has to be a plan behind it. Otherwise you don't make it. Yeah.
So when you start your preparation for the coast swim, did you hire a coach, or you said you spoke a lot of people?
Yeah. I was teaching at that time in a swimming club, which because of COVID obviously was also not doing much. But the person who organized that club, she made my training schedules then until the vacation, basically until July, and then July, August I trained a bit on myself. And this time I actually did the same. The thing is, it's not that those people didn't do a good job, but you do notice that in Belgium there's very little knowledge about ultras, and I felt like they also at a certain point had something like, just as much about it as we do. So they basically let me go a bit on my own, which is in a way a bit sad because you're looking for someone who's just pushing you a little bit. It doesn't have to be someone who knows everything about it. It's more the fact that someone is looking over your shoulder and sees what you do and gives you a bit of motivation. That could be enough actually. So I did a lot on my own.
And how much time did you give yourself to prepare?
From let's say February till August. So how much is this?
Actually, a really short period.
Yeah. Well, it's not that I wasn't swimming.
Yeah, but it's a very long swim. So what it is, 50?
67.
67. Okay.
Yeah, which was in reality actually 75.
Oh wow.
It was a bit up and down, and I didn't swim in a straight line, so yeah.
I remember the story because you were coaching as well.
Yeah.
And they said you were studying the infinity pool, I think it's called.
Yeah, and the school, yeah.
And the school. Then always watching the same. So
yeah.
How did that do? Like, I don't know how low you train.
Yeah, it's a bit crazy. There's actually records in that kind of, I don't know how people do it, but you have people swimming like 28 hours and more, and it's a bit crazy. It's really boring. It felt almost at some points like sort of a think tank, because the only thing you can do is try to think about interesting things. But and the longest I trained in it was 4 hours in a row, which is boring. But I think that was also part of the mental training in a way, because if you're able to survive that in a certain way, because you have a constant current, which makes it, and that's maybe a bit difficult for people who don't know much about swimming, but water is like 800 times denser than air, So if you do something wrong with one hand, one finger almost, you will be pushed out of the current. So you have to. It's not just 4 hours of swimming in one place. It's 4 hours of constantly thinking and making sure that your technique stays good the whole time.
That's really focused.
Yeah.
Is there time for next emotions then, or is it just you are in the zone, the focus, the attention to the
There's time for anything. It's not always good, but and I think it's not. Yeah, it's not that I'm always positive or always. Yeah, there has to be some times that you're really not feeling good, and you swim through those also, or train through those moments. It's all part of training, I guess.
Because that was a little bit. You were worrying a little bit about the income.
Yeah.
And then you swim for 4 hours watching the same stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's better.
Yeah, yes. And if I think about it now, it sounds like the perfect situation. You have your own pool, you can swim whenever you want. But if I then think back about, like you say, the thoughts, and it was really a bad time. Like you start up a business, they say your business is not big enough to be supported by government. So you feel like they just throw you out. So you're not good enough, basically, to be part of the system. So just go and try and survive on your own. That's basically. And you have a lot of time to think, obviously, because there's nothing you can do. I tried to do some different jobs in that time. I did some doping control work because that was the only thing I was allowed to do, which was also interesting. But just out of necessity. But yeah, it's not a nice place to be in a certain way. But also, if I look at it, it made me train more, and also with more how do you call it? It's, I would say frustration in a certain way, but sometimes you just need that little bit to put it into in a positive thing.
To use.
Yes. Yeah, that whole Belgian coast thing has been something countercurrent. It's like going against the odds or the current, and it made it also like if I look at Lake Geneva now, that was more a holiday compared to the Belgian coast swim. That was more of a battle to do it. Also because everybody said that I would never be able to do it, which made it even more interesting or made me more focused on yes, I am going to do this. So the whole thing wasn't certainly not always positive. But looking back at it now, obviously it's.
So you see the Belgian coast swim as one of your, or not, or maybe the best performance you did.
Yeah, for me that's Icon was nice too. But in a way, the Belgian coast swim was so much against the odds, and especially with the weather, it makes it really special. It was surviving.
Yeah.
Especially towards the port and Zeebrugge, because the weather was so bad. It's dark. You don't see the boats, and then suddenly you see a boat 1.40 meters above you, basically coming closer, and you realize, because I did think about giving up at that point, but not because I was too tired, but because I thought, I wouldn't survive it. That boat could have just swiped me away, and nobody, you're just a little dot in the water, basically. Nobody's going to find you. I wouldn't be the first person to not survive a channel swim. That's people forget that sometimes. I think those ultra swims get so commercial that it seems like, oh yeah, I crossed the English Channel, but it's not as easy as I think some people think it is. And that's something unique, I think, in swimming. Once you are in the ocean, you really realize how small you are in that big ocean. It wasn't blue. Yeah.
And why did you continue? Was it
we in advance we said we had one person who could decide. So I asked her, can I still continue? Because when I saw them sitting on the boat, I thought that they were really concerned too, and they were. But then they decided to go past the port and look with one of the boats if the water was better on the other side, and it was. Because if you make construction in the ocean, you always get more waves and more of a heavy sea because of that construction. So luckily they went and looked, and it looked better. So they said, okay, let's give it a shot. Luckily, otherwise I would have done 55 kilometers. And then because I was actually thinking, if they tell me now I have to stop, I'll never convince them to do this again. I wasn't really thinking about me swimming it again, but just seeing them on the boat, it felt like worse for them than it was for me.
So beforehand, did you have a pacing plan? How did you plan it also with nutrition? Because those two are very important.
Yes, that's a very delicate. For the coast swim, we actually on timing, it was perfect. We the person who wrote it all out did it the old-fashioned way, drew it on maps, and really calculated everything, and it was perfect. The only thing, the weather was a lot worse than we expected. So, but if you look at it, we calculated 18 hours, and it was 18 hours 45. Yeah. On a competition like that, it's to be expected in those conditions and those weather conditions. And the food, I actually asked someone to also make a whole plan, but we didn't follow any of it. It was really good, but we made things to eat like rice balls with peanuts and raisins, really good. But if the ocean is
it's not
that heavy, I was trying to eat, and I had more salt water in my stomach than anything else. So I gave up, and I said, just give me gels, which I don't like, but in some situations it's what you have left. And then for Lake Geneva, because of that, I was a little bit more basic in my schedule. So I used the same schedule, but I just told the team I want 70 grams of carbs per hour max, and every 20 minutes. So basically 20-25 grams per feeding. And it was drinking, eating with some water, drinking, eating. So you had 1 hour with 2 feeds and 1 drink stop, and then an hour with 2 drink stops and 1 feed stop. That was the basic line. But we actually completely messed it up in the Lake Geneva on that. It's my fault, but I used liquid food, and I should have warned them a bit more about how many spoons to put in, and when to give it. And at night they gave me the wrong bottle at some point, so instead of the isotonic, they gave me the liquid food basically, which I think it was 25 grams of carbs in that 200 milliliters. And then they gave me a double carb, which is 50 grams with it, which wasn't supposed to, but they just they didn't see, and I only realized after drinking, like, this tastes different. And then they did that again, and the speed, if you look at, so they write it all down, and you really see it going from, I think I was swimming 3.5 to suddenly 2 kilometers an hour. It's crazy. What?
Too bad.
Yeah.
Why is that the suggestion?
It felt, to be honest, I don't know everything about that, but my stomach was like a brick, so I guess most of that stuff just stayed there. And the thing is, they saw that I didn't eat or drink, so they made because I told them I'm not going to eat anymore. I felt like it didn't work, so I didn't eat anymore, and because of that, they made my isotonic stronger, because they were scared I wasn't eating enough. And that's, swimming is really basic in communication. You don't have time to talk. So that's a real challenge that we messed up a little bit.
Is it also a case of train to eat?
Yeah.
because the cycling is right now also a big topic.
Yeah.
Because they want to go to 120. I heard 130 gram of carbs. But not everyone can do it. So everyone is training to achieve to go to the 120 grams.
Yeah.
But I guess in swimming it's also very important. And did you do enough training or?
Yeah. And that's the thing. What I did was making beginners' mistakes. But after 20 years, you think you know it all at some points, which is obviously wrong. But so I did use some gels and bars during long training sessions, of course, but I didn't specifically train on how many per hour or on the other side. I don't like all those gels, and I don't think I need that much. I also think if you look at what they do in cycling, they are looking more at the fact that cyclists have to do intensive sprints and uphill short bursts in which they use a lot more carbs than someone who's doing the same speed for 18 hours, I think. Yeah, I don't know enough about it. I'm not a dietist, but to me, it feels like, for me personally, it's not necessary. If I look at the coast swim, I stuck to 60 gram of carbs per hour, and that was perfect. But I was also a bit lighter, so I changed it a bit because Lake Geneva is normally colder. So I gained a bit of weight to be able to have my internal wetsuit, and then also changed the carb load a little bit. But then the water was 23 degrees Celsius. So instead of the predicted 17 or 15. So
total different
yeah, exactly.
circumstances.
Yeah.
Do you know in advance how your body will react to carbs after 16 hours of the swim?
That's
different, I think, than after 2 hours.
Yeah, it's and especially if you always use the same thing, at a certain point your stomach has enough of it.
Yeah.
So you always have to have a plan B. You always have to have some other things. But the difficult thing with swimming is that it's not always possible. If you don't, if the boat is like going up and down, and you almost can't reach it, and you almost can't get it into your mouth because of the water. Yeah, sometimes you just have to stick with what you have. But I think you just have to train on both sides. You have to train to be able to go low and to be able to go higher. I think in ultras you have to be prepared for anything. That's basically what it is.
You have another lunch.
Not in Lake Geneva, or maybe a bit.
Yeah, so do you need to train different when you swim in the ocean or the North Sea and right now in the Lake Geneva? Where did you train different things?
Yeah, in the ocean you have to make sure that all your gels and food that is compatible with salt once it gets into the system. And other than that, you have to train the current a lot more against the current, with the current, the waves. Yeah, that's all a lot different. Lakes are a bit more, in a certain way, predictable. Although, yeah, I changed my opinion a bit on that after Lake Geneva. But I did a shorter swim beforehand. I actually did, I think it was 28 kilometers as like preparation towards Lake Geneva, and I survived that swim on, and I have to make sure I don't lie, but it was less than 1 bottle of isotonic and 1 bar and 2 gels. The whole swim. Yeah, which was also not good. But and it was also circumstances. So we had a kayak with us who was supposed to feed us, but things went a bit different than planned. And the kayak basically left us behind. Another thing you have to be prepared for, because it was at night. And the other swimmer, we were luckily with 2, but he was panicking a bit. So we didn't have anything. And then you also have to be able to survive that. So yeah, the feed plan has to be always adjustable, and same for ocean or sea swims. But it's a lot more dangerous. You really have to prepare well for knowing the current and reading the situation a bit. To be safe.
Yeah, the current change during the trip. So it's the moment of swimming. You are
Not going anywhere. Yeah.
nowhere, or even you are going back.
Yeah, if you're not swim I think for Belgium you have to swim at least more than 2K an hour, otherwise you go back to where you came from. Yeah. So
How do you set your pacing? How do you know, okay, I'm swinging fast enough? Oh, yeah.
yeah, that's back to basic.
Yeah, that's difficult.
An internal metronome, basically. Swimming cadence is really important. Well, it is in any sport, in longer distance, but that's the only thing you have, basically. You can look at buildings passing by, but in an ocean, a channel swim.
I heard you were calculating the 100 meters, like you were calculating every 100 meter. How do you calculate it? Is it also with the cadence?
Yeah, that was the end of the Belgian coast swim. And I think I had 2 kilometers left, they told me. And the next time they told me I had 1.8 left and then 1.7. And in my mind, I was swimming half an hour already. So you lose the concept of time and any other concept. So I just started counting my strokes. Yeah. So just on cadence and thinking, when you swim a lot, you know how many strokes you need per 25 meters. So I was just counting that way. But in a way, it doesn't matter because the current was going against me. So you think you have been swimming 100 meters, but yeah.
Yeah. But in your minds, you were advancing. Like,
yeah. Trying.
Yeah. Before the coast swim, you were coaching me, and I think you told me it's like the last big thing I want to do before starting really my business. And after the coast swim, you said, okay, I swam enough for one year now. Well, were you really in your head like, okay, now it's finished, or how were you thinking at that moment?
Yeah. That challenge is finished. Yeah, that was like I forgot that a little bit actually, but in a way I felt like I had to do something like that to prove that I was good enough to be a coach, which if I look at it now is a bit stupid in a way, but it's still not easy, at least in Belgium, to set up your own business as a coach, not being a man. And it felt like, although, if you read that list now, I did do a lot of competitions, but I felt like I had to do something good enough for everybody to believe that I could also coach other people good enough. In a way, but I guess it's what you tell yourself.
And did it help you to coach other people?
Yes, because I'm more relaxed in it. It's all in your head, basically, or in my head. It doesn't change anything. If I look at it now, it doesn't change anything in the way I coach. But I just feel more comfortable thinking that I did enough.
It changes something for you.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
That's most important, I think.
Yeah, it is. That's what ultras in a way are about. And again, to go back to the guy running the 50K in one day, it's a bit of freedom that you get for yourself. You let go of certain things, and it becomes it's a bit more freedom.
Okay. But a couple of years later, you thought, I'm going to cross the line.
Yes, but it's different. In a way, or in my head, I don't have to prove anything. It was just I was talking to my husband, and his he's from the US, so his company is based in the US, but the headquarter in Europe is in Geneva. And he was joking, if we're gonna move to Switzerland, you won't have an ocean or a coastline to swim. I was like, I can just swim their border on Lake Geneva. So we were just laughing about it. But then when I looked it up, it was like, whoa, people actually swim that. So it was more of a, okay, that's a nice next challenge. Not so much, I have to do this to prove something to myself.
Yeah.
So, different challenge or different way of looking at it, a lot more relaxed, which probably made me make those mistakes also in the feeding. And I also trained less, which a bit, I guess, you for yourself, you look at what is the border of how much do I have to train to get somewhere, and this was the low side. Mm.
And what's your opinion? How much do you need to train to do a ultra?
Yeah, that's a very individual question. I've seen a lot of people train double the time that I've trained or than other clients train and perform less. I think you have to train what you feel comfortable with, and it also depends on how you look at the rest of your life. Like, I feel like I've trained a lot of sleep deprivation with a baby in the house.
Yeah.
So if you see your whole life as one thing instead of seeing that one challenge as something separate from the rest, you can put it all a bit more in perspective. I'm not a top sporter, so it's not that I go train and then come home and put my feet up and rest and sleep, and the rest of your life is still you need to manage it all. So I think you have to look at the big picture, and if you have the time to train more, good for you. If you don't, you have to train yourself a bit more mentally and be a bit more strict on other things, and maybe a little bit less social life. It's all about finding that balance in something that doesn't really have a balance, I guess.
Yeah. And for you, what's the limit? Do you think, like you said, the longest swim you did before the Belgian coast swim was 4 hours?
Yeah.
If you train more, is it just stress for your body, or is it just you don't need to do it? So.
No. So what I did is the most. If you look at ultra swimming, the base is 60 kilometers a week.
Yeah.
Training. So most, let's say the old-fashioned way is you train 60 kilometers a week or around that, and then you build up to, let's say, 190, 100, 120 kilometers a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yes, the slower you swim, the more difficult it becomes. So that's where it starts shifting. So if you swim 4 kilometers an hour or 2 kilometers an hour, it's a big difference. And then the question is, did that person that swims 2 kilometers an hour really train less? He's been in the water the same time, so his body has been through the same effort in a certain way as the other person. So it's very difficult. But so I went to 60 as a max. I built up to 60 and then stayed there. I never went, I did 1 week of 67, just mentally in my head to get like the coast in 1 week.
Yeah.
But that was it. And the longest swim was 4 hours in the endless pool, which was 16 kilometers and 16 kilometers in open water.
Yeah.
So not much. And if you look at the classic view on ultra swimming, not enough, certainly. But it was enough for me. If I look at now, I actually also went to 60, but only 1 week. So I didn't really get there. And I trained a max of 14 hours a week, which was not enough. It should have been like 18 a week as a max. And then the longest swim was 28 kilometers. So you would think I did better.
Yeah.
But it actually, because that swim went really bad, it was more of a mental break, which also doesn't work.
Yeah.
So it's not just about the numbers. It's you have to look at the whole picture. Yeah.
And do you also train intervals then? Or?
Not so much. I do it more for to get less bored.
Yeah.
And to get a little bit of to get a little bit over your anaerobic threshold sometimes, and keep pushing both a bit up. But in the end, I don't know the numbers out of my head anymore. But I think my anaerobic threshold was, let's say 125 maybe, or 124, or maybe, probably saying it wrong, but around that number. But if you know that you're going to swim 1 minute 40 for 18 hours, why would you be swimming 124? And it might sound like a small difference, but in swimming, it's a huge difference. It's also per 100 meters. So on a long distance, it makes a big difference. Why would I be training there? I'm never gonna swim that on that long swim.
Yeah.
I don't need to know that feeling. I don't need to know what that is for my body. I basically shouldn't ever do it during that long swim because I'm just gonna burn myself.
Yeah.
But you do it to keep some variation in your schedule and to get the engine going, and yeah.
And also, can you do your preparation with some different sports, for example, cycling or running?
Yeah.
Get the variation.
Yeah, essentially your heart and lungs don't know the difference. So cardiovascular, you can do whatever, running, cycling, all helps. I actually ran a little bit and cycled a little bit, but then time became the problem. Dryland training, core training, strength training. Yeah, you can do a lot of different things. But with swimming, the feeling of being in the water is quite specific.
Yeah. You said dryland training, and you did karate, you said in the beginning.
Yeah.
Is it still something you can use, the martial arts, the flexibility that goes with it, or?
I don't think I have it anymore like I used to have it. That's a very long time ago. I did at some point. Actually, after the coast swim, I did 10 lessons of pole dancing.
Okay.
Yeah, something completely different, but that's actually a really good workout. And if I would have had time, I would have done that next to the swimming because it's really, it focuses on the muscles that you need also in the swim, and it's a hard training. It's not easy, but yeah. That's something, if you have time to do all those different things, it's nice. It's nice to have the variation and to train from a different angle, basically. But yeah, sometimes you just have to choose and go back to the basics and just get the hours in.
So they should put poles in the swimming pool.
They do have, yeah. You can do there's I teached aqua fitness for a while, and we actually had a course in pole dancing. Yeah. It's easier than on land.
I can think so.
Yeah, if you want to try, they give lessons in Ghent, I think, still.
We know what to do, Jelle.
Yeah.
During winter training.
Yeah.
I go swimming once a week, so it's
good. That's good.
One kilometer a week, it's not 60.
It's a beginning. You have to start somewhere.
Yeah, indeed. The preparation for the Geneva swim and the Belgian coast swim. You were also a mom.
Mm-hmm.
In the meanwhile, how did that change you mentally as a person, as a sportswoman?
Yeah. When she was born, I think the first time we went to the they call it child doctor in Belgium, pediatrist, I think in English. The doctor knew from the midwife that I swam the coastline. I said, you were the woman who swam the Belgian coastline. I was like, yeah, what an amazing. And I said, yeah, to be honest, I think this is more difficult than that coast swim. And she was like a bit like, what are you saying? So yeah, you can choose to have children, but you don't choose when they come, how, if they will sleep or not, and you can't stop it. I mean, if you swim the coastline, you can choose which day, when you're gonna do it, and if you don't want to do it anymore, you stop. But children put all those things in a very different perspective. So I see my training now a lot more as luxury than I did before. It's a lot of the times it's the only moment that you get to yourself, that nobody bothers you. Certainly in the pool, the phone is somewhere else. So yeah, it puts it in a very different perspective. It makes you even more flexible if you allow it. Gives you more mental training.
Yeah.
And sleep deprivation training. So I think it makes you a stronger athlete if you don't break under the pressure.
Yeah, and maybe something that goes with it. Training with the cycle, menstruation cycle. Do you change training according to the cycle?
No. Yeah. I know it's interesting. I know there's a Femke who actually made my schedule, feed schedule for the swim, is the person who wrote a book about it, Femke Reinert. Very interesting for coaches, I think, and for the team behind the athletes, and maybe for pro athletes. But in my mind, I a lot of the times I can't choose the day of my competition, and I can't choose when I'm gonna sleep more or eat. So it's the same with heat training. So you could say I'm gonna only do my run training when it's 20 degrees or less, because I don't deal well with heat. It would be a nice, comfortable strategy in training. But then if your competition, it's 30 degrees, then you have a problem. So in my opinion, I like to know my body, and but then I go back to rate of perceived exertion. I rather talk to myself about it and think, okay, this is not a good day. I don't feel good, but maybe I try to push through it, and then I know what's possible, and I train my body to be prepared for whatever could happen on whatever day of the menstrual cycle, basically. So I think the science is really interesting, and it's good for the people that need to support athletes, and also for the athletes too. But I think if you focus too much on it, you basically don't train anymore in the end.
Yeah.
You have to follow a strict diet. You have to do everything, have the perfect bike, and there's so many things that you that influence a performance. If you look too much at it, you lose yourself in it, and in the end, it's also not not my job. It's a passion that got a little bit out of hand, maybe.
Yeah.
But you do it for yourself, not to prove to someone else.
Is sports for you like a hobby? I mean, is it something that gives you energy, or
Yeah.
yeah.
A hobby is maybe
Yeah.
the wrong word, but it gives me energy. Yeah.
But you said it's mostly or sometimes the only me time I have, and then you choose to go and do sports.
Mm-hmm.
So other people can say, okay, I'm gonna do something that gives me energy, but that's for you. Resource action.
Yes, because it's I see it a bit as a mindfulness, and if you choose for it in a training, you go back to being in the moment. At least when I swim, certainly in open water, you're in nature.
Yeah.
I don't look at my watch. A lot of times I swim without a watch. A lot of the times you swim alone. There's no phone. So it brings you back to the basics and out of the whole busy environment that we normally live in. So to me that gives me a lot of energy to just reboot the system almost.
Another question I want to ask: the Belgian coast swim, you wanted to start at, I don't know, let's say 19th of August, but then the weather wasn't good enough.
Mm-hmm.
You had to start later on.
Yeah.
That also happened with the triathlon and the Olympics this year. It was a day later. Does it change a lot? Or, because I don't know if you do carb loading and electrolyte loading and things like that, or how do you deal with it?
Yeah. For me, it was just going with flow. You can't decide. The sea decides for you. So you just sit back, relax.
Yes.
And but for a professional athlete, I think that's a different story. And certainly, it was a bit of a different situation too. For an ultra, I think you always have to be prepared for things like that, and you have to be able to let go. If athletes do an ultra, I always tell them it's gonna go wrong in some way, and it's not gonna be the way you think it's gonna go wrong, but there's certainly something that's gonna go wrong. And if you in advance can let go of the fact that you want it to be like it has to be for you, then things go a lot smoother. Yeah. It's just
also a big difference was in Paris, it was the Olympics.
Yeah.
It should be on that day. And as you say, the sea decides for you when you can do the swim. So it's a whole different approach in your mind.
Yeah.
But you see a lot of athletes that couldn't deal with it, and then you have other athletes that just said, I just let it go and I go with the flow. I think that was very interesting to see.
and Olympic.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, that's also a nice example of how important the mental game is.
Yeah.
How you cope with such situations, and yeah, mental toughness is so important.
Mhm.
How you cope with different situations.
Yep.
Also, you can use that in the Lake Geneva, because what was the time you prepared yourself for? I heard 22 hours.
Yeah. It became a lot more, but 22 hours was the goal. Yeah.
Because I read it that you knew, okay, I'm not on the right time limit. So how affected you?
Ja. Kan eigenlijk als het goed is eerst een plaspauze en als... Want, sorry, ik weet nu wat... Ja, once I realized it was going to take longer, it's like a switch in a way that you put on or off. Because in the beginning I was counting how many hours I was swimming. So if you know you have a feed stop every 20 minutes, you can calculate a little bit how far you are and how many kilometers you did by what they tell you. And it went according to plan, but at a certain point, I noticed that we were going slower, that I was going slower, and the calculation didn't add up anymore. And I was like, this is stupid. I just have to stop thinking about this. It's not going to help me. So I stopped calculating or thinking about it. And then at a certain point, they say you're that far into the swim, you have that many kilometers, and you realize it's not going to be possible. Even if you speed up a lot, you're never going to make it. And that's a hard one. We actually had a lot more current against, not like the coast. So the coast, we had a max of 2.1, I think, against us. And now it was 1.2 max. But then I had it against me, but it didn't really turn the other way. I got 0.5 at some point with me, but that was the max we got out of it. So if you look at the whole swim, it was it's just luck or bad luck. But also, and I think that was the main factor, the feeding that we talked about. I ate too much and it slowed me down. But then, you have to deal with it because you feel you can't. I felt I couldn't go any faster, so there was no point in telling myself to go faster. You just have to deal with it. So I just switched it off, like I'm just gonna finish. Forget about the time. The thing with time is on an ultra, it's quite dangerous to put yourself in that position because once you put your mind on it, it can completely break you if you realize that it's not going to work. So most of the time I wouldn't do that, but now we calculated my speed the same like with the Belgian coast swim, and that was a time we saw, and theoretically I should be able to swim. And to me it gives me motivation if I know, okay, I have to try and set a goal and people know what the goal is. It gives me motivation to actually keep training and accomplish the goal. But once you're swimming, you have to at some point be able to let go. So it just disappeared basically. Try to finish.
Were you disappointed then at the end?
Yeah. In the beginning, not when you arrive. I was really happy to be out of the water, but you are a bit disappointed. But then the team, obviously they notice a bit too, and they put it in perspective. And then if you look at it, the guy, Mark Turner, he organized it for me, basically, the swim. And he lives in Lausanne, and he's like, there's so many people who try to swim this, and there's only 14 people who ever made it. Okay. Like, that's the first thing. And then he's like, you're the first best of all those people. And then you think like, what was I even thinking? I mean, you don't have to be the best or anything. It was just a goal, and you have to let go of it. If it doesn't work, well, that was not the day for me then to make that time, but it will be for someone else.
The two swims, you coupled them also with some good causes, the Snowbility and the Homestretch Foundation.
Yeah.
You are linked to them, or how do you know them? Or?
Yeah.
Home stretch. Catherine Bertine is a cyclist. I don't know. She's not competing anymore. She came to Belgium and joined our team for a while. She was a pro cyclist. So I had a lot of interesting conversations with her about the difference in cycling in the US and in Belgium. And she set up that whole organization in which she actually does a lot around equality for women in sports. So anyone who can't pay for his or her cycling career is actually welcome at Homestretch Foundation, but they mainly see women because there's not that many big teams to support them. So yes, I know her. And then on the other side, Snowbility is a non-profit in Belgium. And the guy who set it up, I also know. And they deal with equal chances for people in sports, which is to me a nice goal. That was also a little bit the idea of the Belgian coach swim. Like, I don't have to be less or more than anyone else, or if that's a young guy or whoever, doesn't matter. Also age. We don't have to be the best when we're 25. We can also be better when we're plus 40.
Yeah.
And then the organization in Switzerland is Mark Turner, the guy who organized it for us there. It's his organization, and they deal with young cancer patients. They give them like a week sailing to get out of the situation and restart their life. So yeah, 3 nice projects.
It's very beautiful to do such performances for those organizations.
Yeah, it makes it next level in a way.
Indeed.
It feels a bit like a bigger picture. And although it's not much, I think I gave them each, or I'm still trying to add up a little bit, but around €2,000. But at least they can do something with it, I hope.
Do you think also about them when you were swimming?
Yeah, yes, because I'm actually lucky enough now to be able to do some things like that, but not everyone is. And it feels, it might sound strange, but it feels like a very luxury, special situation to be able to do an event like that, to be 22 or plus hours in the water, to have a whole team for you that supports you, to swim. Like Lake Geneva is a beautiful place. To be able to swim there was like the biggest infinity pool I've ever been in. Literally, because you're that close to the water, it looked like it never ended. Like it was all, it's beautiful. So yeah, when you're lucky enough to do something like that, it's nice to think about the fact that you can at least try to share it with other people.
So what's next? Are you gonna do a new attempt on the Lake Geneva?
No. I like the adventure part of those things. So repetition doesn't really feel like an adventure. Lake Geneva was beautiful swimming, and arriving in Geneva was a really special finish. Really nice people. They actually gave us like free breakfast. They swim there in the morning. Anyone can swim there whenever they want, not like Belgium. And it's just as safe, but they all came out of the water. They were clapping. It was like a whole community feeling without it being a big competition, but just the people themselves, and that makes it really special. It would probably be the same if I do it again, but I don't really see the benefit of repeating it. Yeah, I know in my mind with a better day, maybe I can make a better time, but if I wouldn't have finished, I probably would want to do it again. That's something else. But I went from A to B and I finished. So
you did what you had in
mind.
You crossed the lake.
Yeah,
maybe
exactly.
Not on the time you had in your mind, but you did it. So
yeah.
What's next? Are you gonna have a new challenge I know you're maybe now in your head, just relax a little bit.
Yeah, but it's nice to have a challenge, and it doesn't, to me now, it's more a year of thinking and finding a new challenge, but it's actually a really nice, relaxed way of thinking about the next thing. There's a couple of things I've been thinking. Sorry, I've been. I don't know if you can cut that out or have to. I did the Belgian coast swim. I did Switzerland, and then my husband is from the US, so maybe I can do one long swim there. That's one of the ideas. The other ideas, I wanted to do 3 X3s. So there's still one pending. I actually registered for Isle of Man, and they cancelled it. So it doesn't exist anymore. So maybe a competition like that. And something that's been on my mind for a long time is there's an ultra triathlon. But it's a bit crazy. It's Hawaii, so it's already expensive to go there. But the thing is, the whole triathlon idea started with stories from my sports doctor, actually, who now lives in Lanzarote. She talked about her experience in Hawaii doing the Ironman World Championship a long time ago. And it sounded so special that it made me consider doing triathlon. So Hawaii still sounds like a special place to be, but the whole Ironman thing like it is now doesn't sound so special to me. The Ultraman is the same island, but the distance is a bit more crazy.
What are distances then?
I think it's a 10K swim. Cycling was, I forgot now. I know the running is 82, and then cycling is, I would guess, 200. It's going to be more, 350 maybe or something. I would have to look it up again.
So double distances?
So, something like that. Yeah.
3 or 12 actually.
Yeah. More for the same money, maybe. But just ideas. So
right now, a little bit
Yeah.
relaxing.
Yeah.
Just go with the flow and life.
Yeah.
See how it goes.
Yeah.
Did a lot change after the Belgian coast swim for you? Like people coming to you say, "Hey, I want to do ultra swimming as well. Can you coach me?" Or do you start a community? Because now I see you're guiding people to swim 16 kilometers in the sea.
Yeah. Yes. So it did change. Yeah. If you ask me, it feels like it didn't, but it actually, if you look at it from a bit with a perspective, it actually West Tour, an organization in the western part of the country, helped me to set up the competition. They asked me, "What do you want to do next?" And I said, I would like to just share this experience because there's no possibility in Belgium to swim in open water almost. So for people that want to swim the channel, how do you train for that if you're not allowed to swim anywhere? And they said, it's a good idea, we'll help you set it up. So they helped me to set up that 16 kilometer. And then we set up a swimming club next to it, basically. So it did actually change a lot if you look at it that way.
Yeah. Is it a goal to start the community, to have more open water swims in Belgium, maybe more competitions and more places?
I actually got a lot of inspiration on that part from Brian Riekeman, a really good swimmer that we had a while ago in open water, also Olympic level. He tried to set the open water swimming higher in Belgium to get it more to get more life into it in the competitions, but it didn't really work. But I think he probably doesn't know, but it was really inspiring, I think, not only for me, but also for other swimmers. So it did spark something. And I think now there's a lot more, the culture, the atmosphere is a lot better to make it grow now, because in Belgium, after COVID, you see that a lot of people started to do more outdoor, more swimming. And it's not really my goal to make a community. I think it's already there. It's just, giving those people more opportunities and bringing them a bit together. And there's actually a really nice international open water community. Yeah, we're going to Montenegro on Thursday. It's a 4-day swim event. People from anywhere in the world, and like if the people you talk to, if it's doctors or engineers or IT, or nobody really cares, or I mean, nobody thinks like I have the most expensive bike or something. No, it's just the same simple.
Everybody's equal and
in a way, yeah.
Adventure together.
Yeah. It's a bit more laid back, but yeah, nice. Yeah.
So take that fire with you to Belgium.
I am trying.
Okay. Maybe we can close the topic about swimming right now. I want to ask you about the barefoot coaching, the barefoot running you do.
Yeah.
How did that start? Because I think there's a whole story around it as well.
Yeah. How many hours do we have? I'll try to keep it short. I sprained my ankle a couple of times, broke it. They did a surgery on it. It didn't work. I eventually tried to find my own solution in it and started running barefoot, like really barefoot, and then switched to minimalistic shoes. And because it worked for me, and people started asking questions, because if you run on your bare feet, people look already strange. So, and also clients ask questions. I followed a course and started sharing my experience a bit around that. So it comes from my own too flexible swim ankles.
But I see there's all community around it as well, with the Katie Bowman and the Born to Run community, I would say. Do you see like pitfalls for people that want to start to run?
Yeah.
Or just walk barefoot, or do sports barefoot, or with barefoot shoes?
Yeah, it doesn't fit into our way of life. And the biggest downfall is that people think, for example, if you want to start running tomorrow, you go to a shop, you buy shoes, and you go running. But with barefoot, it just doesn't work. It's so much back to basic. You basically have to rewire your system to be able to do it. And if you try to do it like you do anything else in life, like, okay, I'm gonna tomorrow change it, it's not gonna work. It's a whole process of slowly changing into functional feet.
Okay. Is it also the way of running, the technique that you use to run?
It's everything. It's it starts with the muscles calf muscles especially have to adjust, your feet have to adjust, you have to find the mobility again, then the strength, then you want to change your whole running posture, cadence, everything.
And what are the benefits of running barefoot?
For me, I don't sprain my ankles anymore. We could talk a lot or give a lot of things, and there's always going to be disadvantages too, obviously, but it's a part of our body that we lock up in cycling, running shoes, and that you don't have any feeling in anymore, almost. So the receptors, the information, the muscles, if you ask people to move their toes, most people can't even move them separately. So it's a functionality that you regain, and the earlier you start, the easier it is. The later in life, obviously, the more difficult, but it also makes the biggest difference. If you look at over 60 falling accidents, if those people would be walking barefoot, even if it's just 1 hour a day, and the receptors on their feet are a bit more back to life, basically, they will react faster when they are almost falling. For running, you can run even faster. It's almost like those expensive shoes with the carbon plate in it. Instead of buying expensive shoes, you're investing in your feet. You make them more like a spring that can work with the surface they land on, and that can accelerate you in the right direction. So it's an investment in your own body that brings you quite a lot of advantages, but you have to be willing to put the time in it and have patience.
So
in a couple of months, next month, I will prepare myself for the next cycling season.
Mm-hmm.
Also with running, should I try it or?
That's up to you, but you have to you have to know that it's a restart from the beginning. It's as a cyclist, running is really good for the bone density and as just a difference in training, doing something else. But if you want to start barefoot, you're basically looking at, well, you can do it both ways. You can do it two ways. A lot of pro athletes will, for example, run short pieces barefoot. So you could say, okay, I don't want to switch completely. I'm going to keep running like I run with shoes, but then maybe one training a week, I'll take them off and do part of my training barefoot just for the technique and get some feedback. Or you say, okay, I really want to try barefoot running, but then you're looking at changing your whole life, basically.
Okay.
No more shoes in the house, no more shoes outside, at least to start. So you start with walking barefoot, try to feel those feet again and get them adjusted to what you are trying to build up, and then walking, running, like a real basic start to run.
I think I will try it.
So no Vibram 5 fingers either?
I used them, but I didn't use them in the beginning. And I try to convince, it doesn't always work, but I try to convince all my clients who want to shift to do it that way, because your feet will give you a lot of feedback and they will tell you when it's enough before there's damage. So if you walk on like stones and off-road parts, you will be really careful on bare feet. Also, if it's too cold, too hot, you react to a lot of things, you get a lot of information, and your body will tell you at a certain point, sorry, that just doesn't work anymore. Too much information, too much pain, and you stop. If you use Vibrams, it gives you extra comfort, but it's just a layer. It doesn't give you any soft landing or anything. So you will not change your technique that much.
Yeah.
And you will not realize that fast that you're doing something wrong. So you see a lot of stress fractures and stuff with people that go too fast into barefoot running, especially using that kind of shoes.
Okay. And you were talking about cycling. Do you have like barefoot cycling shoes? Because you are cycling a lot as well. You can run barefoot, so I think your feet are quite wide then.
Yeah.
I went to a cycling shop. I tried all the shoes. There was no shoe that fitted my feet.
I know that Bradley Wiggins did his hour record without socks. So he's barefoot in his shoes, but I think it was for the aerodynamics.
Bond has quite wide shoes, and Shimano has also a model, I don't remember the name, that is a bit wider. But yeah, it's I know for me Bond is okay. I actually still have my old Specialized shoes that are really tight. They are in the US for when we are there, and I can't wear them anymore. After half an hour, my feet are like, the nerves between my toes are like squeezed so much that I don't feel them anymore. So it is difficult. You can let them make shoes on your. I've looked at that, but it's expensive.
Yeah, it's €1,000, I think.
Yeah. So for me, Bond is for now the best. But there's not many options. Or like the guy who went after the Tour de France, or in front of the Tour de France. I forgot his name now. He got problems with his shoes, with his feet being, couldn't bear to sit in the shoes anymore. So he uses sandals after a while. You can do that.
Okay.
Just put sandals on and cycle like that.
I think it exists also on a mountain bike or gravel scene.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, also because every foot is different.
Yeah.
It's also I'm, for example, good with Shimano, but put me in a CD shoe and I have problems.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it is very from person to person.
Yeah, and then when you start with the barefoot running, all those shoes will suddenly.
And how do you see it with raising your kids? Shoes, no shoes? What type of shoes?
Yeah, they're all minimalistic, or at least the problem is you get presents. We got some really nice shiny shoes for her. Yeah, she wears them too, but then 1 hour or 2 hours, I just you have to.
When you see the people that gave you present,
For example. But yeah, she also likes them. They look nice. Yeah, so I'm not gonna be the parent that raises my kids as if they live on a different planet. But if you look at it, the bones are not yet connected. So I think they have, when they're born, 48, and then it goes to 26, something like that. So if you think about that, and you put those feet always in that small cast, basically, it just grows in the wrong way. It's the impact of that is quite serious.
Is that the reason why we run strangely? I mean, with not a good technique, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. Because if you look at it, good runners use their posterior chain a lot more. You see the speed basically being generated from glutes and all the muscles on the back. If you look at the typical Western recreational runner, they will be running up and down almost as if they're still behind their desk a little bit with tight hip flexors and stuff. So yes, it's also I remember the course I followed, the guy was saying that someone he followed the course with was from South Africa, and he was raised without shoes, and they tried to explain to him what a sprained ankle was. And he said he never heard of it, and they didn't have a word for it in his language.
Okay.
So, it does change our way of walking, falling, running, I think. Yeah.
Not last week, but a couple of weeks ago, I went to the sea, to the coast, and then you see the footprints.
Nice.
In the sand. Then you really have the triangle toes. It's
that's a lot of feet grow into the shoe, and it's painful to see in a way. The bunions and
Indeed. I want to ask a question. Okay. The running technique. Is it easy to change? Can you change it? Should you change it? Because I hear a lot of stories about it, about people that want to change it, but they got injured. They stopped running afterwards, actually.
In my head, never change a winning team. If I have a runner that easily runs 15k an hour and it looks good and they are happy, I don't see a reason why I would change that person into a barefoot runner. I will still give them some exercises like the jumping, bouncing in place, barefoot, and then short pieces of barefoot running, just as a technique training, just to make them more connected with their feet and get a bit more out of it. But I would never tell them to go run barefoot. But if someone comes to me and they say, I always have problems with tight hips and my glutes don't work and I sprain my ankle every 5 weeks or whatever story, or I have bunions, or then you obviously start looking at a solution for that problem. So it's always individual, and basically a lot of the questions we
it's interesting what you say, because people go to the fitness and then they do like 8 repetitions, 3 sets, then they have 24 repetitions. But if you're walking right, then you use your muscles 10,000 times a day in the right way. And then you're training a lot more actually than those 24 repetitions 3 times a week. So maybe for, like you say, the glutes is very important for cyclists as well. So maybe it's something we should train as a cyclist to activate the posterior chain.
Even more for runners and swimmers, actually. But that makes me think of Katie Bowman in her book. I think it's in her book that she somewhere quotes, there's no good or bad in life, there's only consequences. Your body just adjusts to what you want to do. So if you want to sit 10 hours behind a desk in the same position, your body will adjust to that position and consider it normal. And then running becomes not normal. So it all depends on what you want to do, I guess.
Indeed. Okay.
Okay.
Do you still want to share something with our listeners?
I think we already had a good conversation.
Yeah, it's also already a long episode.
Yeah.
So I would like to thank you
No problem.
to be on our show. It was an honor to have you here.
Yeah,
So,
perfect.
and obviously, a lot of luck in your next challenges.
Thank you.
And I will try the barefoot running.
It's good. Well, yeah, you can always, if you have questions, ask one of us.
And if people want to find you, where can they find you?
In Ghent, mostly, or in the water somewhere
Yeah.
at the coast, or Ghent, Move to Sports Studio, or the swimming club is Ommeweg Swimming Club.
Yeah.
We swim in a lot of locations, international too. So if people want to join, they're always welcome.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so Jelle, another second episode.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So again, thank you for this episode.
Yeah, you too, Aaron. And thank you to the listeners to listen to our podcast and to watch it on YouTube as well.
Yes, to our listeners, you can find us on Spotify, YouTube, and like as always on our social media. So thank you for listening and see you on the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Mm-hmm.